radio network where advice meets action.
We're here to spark your growth, lift your spirit, and help you crush your potential.
Rise awakening, hear the call. Through the shining, we break the wall. Your station, your voice, where dreams awaken. Climb, rise awakening, now is the time.
Rise Awakenings, let's rise together.
Start with the quiet parts, the things you hide behind your laugh. Sit with the ache a while. Let every question breathe and ask, who was I trying to be? Who am I when I just stay? Name every tender scar and let them have their say. Till your heart carries you. This is the blue.
Pages of old beliefs, stories that kept you playing small. Lay them out on the floor, see which ones never fit at all. Offer your younger self a kindness you never knew. With me and feel it turning true.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you today. Happy new week. And this is the start of a new month, too. And we're still in that blue full moon energy. So, welcome, welcome. If you're new here, the wisdom that I share in this podcast is based on my personal experience and the knowledge that I've gained from my educational and healing journeys. And it is definitely shared in the greatest degree of love. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and I will get to your chat questions in the order in which we can get to them. And I want to thank Micah for being the man behind the curtain, as usual, because this show wouldn't happen without you. And for all the magic that you do with the chat. If you want to take a deeper dive with me, I love to teach self-mastery and help you heal through your trauma. I'm also a Sikem Sikim Reiki master teacher for those who are interested in that kind of energy work. So catch me on healingrose.org and let us dive into today's topic. So why am I doing today's topic? Because this has been like a culmination of leveling up discussions over the last few weeks. And it felt like this is a time for reevaluation because we're headed into this new energy. There's a lot of shifting going on for a lot of people in a lot of different areas. And I'm hearing this over and over again with a lot of different people with what's going on in their personal lives, whether they're changing jobs or moving or losing relationships or things are just changing for everybody. So I wanted to talk about giving ourselves a chance to release and realign. For us as higher vibrational people who are on this healing journey, the reflection on the healing journey brings us to the understanding that it's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who we've always been beneath all of that conditioning and the expectations and the wounds, the fears, right? And the stories that have accumulated throughout our whole lives. Okay. And growth often requires two sacred movements: embracing what serves us and releasing what no longer serves us. That's hard to discern sometimes, right? So just as a gentle gardener prunes a rose bush so it could bloom more fully, we too are invited to gently release what has become outdated, misaligned, and no longer supportive of our highest good. And sometimes that means releasing old beliefs. Sometimes it means releasing old habits. I'm struggling with one habit right now that I'm trying to work on. Sometimes it means releasing the identities that we've created to survive. And sometimes it means creating loving boundaries with people, environments, and relationships that are no longer aligning with our values, our purpose, our well-being, or holding space for us in the ways that we need held. Releasing isn't rejection. It's an act of love. And I want to repeat that. Releasing isn't rejection. It's an act of love and alignment. And it's honoring the truth that every season serves a purpose, but not every season is meant to last forever. Let's talk about your outdated beliefs, because beliefs we inherited from family, society, religion, culture, or past experiences that no longer reflect our truth really, really drive our decisions, our self-sabotage, and what choices that we make that we believe are in alignment with us. So let's talk about examples of what we believe that don't do well. The I'm not good enough underneath you trying to prove yourself, right? The I have to earn love with all the overgiving that you do. The my needs don't matter when you don't feel heard or understood, right? The healing should happen much faster is the pressure that you feel from all those around you telling you what you should be doing. right? And the I must stay small to keep others comfortable is a fallacy, because others are limited by their own experience, and diminishing your light makes them comfortable instead of lifting yourself up and letting yourself be. So you have to ask yourself, are those beliefs helping me become more aligned with love, compassion, and authenticity? And if not, maybe it's time to release those beliefs and release those identities, right? Because those are the identities that many of us have created to survive those difficult experiences. We become the caretaker. We become the peacemaker. We become the perfectionist. Everything's got to be just so, right? How many of you stress when you have something that needs to get done, and one thing might be off that only you know about? Nobody else cares. This is just you. But there's that perfectionism, that's that demand that we have from the outside world, right? Some of you are rescuers. You feel like you got to fix everybody. These are identities that we have to let go of in order to be more aligned with ourselves, right? Who here is the strong one? That's a popular one. No one checks on you. Oh boy. Who's the invisible one? Right? Who's the introverted invisible one who never feels heard or understood? These identities they kept us protected at one point, and they're what's keeping us stuck. So what protected us in one aspect of our experience is actually limiting us from moving forward and reaching what we need to reach. So as we move through our own healing, we see that healing invites us to thank those identities for their service and allow ourselves to become something more authentic. Okay. And part of growth is recognizing that not everyone is meant to walk every part of your journey with you, right? And it doesn't require judgment at all either. Okay. You don't have to feel judgmental or resentment or, you don't have to have any of that. You're just not aligned, and that's okay. It could be that simple, and that's a reframe. So whatever judgment and resentment is coming up for you, see in what ways you might hold yourself to those limitations, and let that be an opportunity to shed light and love on yourself. It does require honesty, though. We have to be honest with ourselves in order to shed that light and illuminate. Okay? Some relationships nourish our growth, not always in uncomfortable ways. And some relationships reinforce those old wounds, patterns, and limitations and keep us stuck. So we can love people while recognizing that their path and our path may now be moving in different directions. I always say, like different trains. You're just not on the same train. The trains went like this, but you're not on the same train. And a reminder to ourselves, because sometimes we feel guilty if we set boundaries or there's some emotional tie there. Boundaries are not walls. Boundaries are loving instructions that protect our peace and support our evolution. Micah put this up. Boundaries are loving if you haven't already, because I'm not looking at it. Boundaries are loving instructions that protect our peace and support our evolution. That's the reframe going forward, right? And that helps us recognize what old attachments we're stuck to. What are we emotionally trapped in? What hamster wheel are we stuck on? What hurts are we clinging on to? Are there betrayals? Are there disappointments? Are there abandonments and just dysregulation that we cling on to because we need chaos? What about expectations? Are we clinging on to expectations? What emotions are familiar, albeit uncomfortable? So we cling on to these things, not because they serve us, but because they have become very, very familiar. So once you remind yourself that, you can remind yourself that on your healing journey, you could shift yourself in the direction that would bring you more expansion, because you're no longer carrying the weight and the burden of that exhaustive process of emotionally carrying these lower vibrational energies. That's in alignment with not loving yourself in the ways that is going to move you forward in your experience. It's self-sabotage, all of these old stories and old emotions. So this is where the forgiveness piece comes in your healing journey, right? There's room for self-forgiveness. You're not approving what happened. That's not what forgiveness is about. And you can check out all the other episodes that we've done. We've done a couple on Phoenix Talks. We've done talking on that on several occasions. Forgiveness helps you release the burden that you're carrying of those old emotional stories that we won't let go of, that are keeping us in sabotage mode. And I mentioned earlier, we're in this blue moon energy. I want you to do this homework today. I want you to, if you haven't already done this, I want you to put what you need to release on paper. And I don't want it to be something like about a specific detail in your life with somebody. What I'd like you to do is dig for the root cause of what's coming up for that, and put on that piece of paper that root cause. If you have the capability of burning that piece of paper, that's a good way to let that go. If you don't have a way to use fire, then use water. And this may sound silly, but speak that release into the water, and then release that water out into Mother Earth, into nature. Do something that's physical representation, because what that does is it strengthens the intention of letting that go, and it forces you to focus on it. So that, because we talk about releasing all the time, but well, how the heck do I do it? So I want to talk to you about how to do that, because releasing makes room for greater authenticity and greater alignment for you. So you have to trust when we release what no longer belongs to us, we create that space that's meant to arrive. So I want to make sure you know how to do it properly. Or at least with the most effectively. There's no properly. It's your own unique way, but I'm saying effectively. Anything that resonates with you, to strengthen the focus on the intention, so that you believe that you are releasing, and you connect the dots that you need to connect to bring yourself into alchemizing that and putting in new thought patterns and behaviors going forward for yourself. When you're able to do all of that in that heavy focus, it's helpful to have all the tools that you need to make it happen. So my suggestion is to use whatever tools you have physically to bring you present and focused on it. Okay. So that you believe it in your heart, because it's that belief thing. Okay. So, you can ask yourself a bunch of questions. Maybe, is there an identity that you've outgrown, and what are you hanging on to from that identity? So reassess your patterns, reassess your emerging truth, and evaluate what isn't working for you. And if things are falling out of your experience, like if things are just falling apart, like, somebody's telling you this and they're not going to do that anymore, or you're transitioning in a job, or whatever. We all got circumstances that are just seem to be melting off of us somehow. Let's ride that wave and process that with the full spectrum of emotions that need to be processed. Let us let that circumstance bring up for us what it is that we need brought up for us. I would love to hear what you guys are in the process of actually releasing right now. What are you working on releasing? What's coming up for you? So let's see, who do we have here? Hi, everyone out there. I could start with myself. one of my limiting beliefs is that my physical limitations are stopping me from doing what I need to do to take care of my physical limitations. I need to release that belief and that mindset because I'm stopping myself from doing things that I could be doing to assist myself more effectively and efficiently. And there's almost like a fear that's underneath that because of not feeling safe in my own body. And so at the core of that specific thing that I'm trying to release right now is the fear of not feeling safe in my body and my body giving out on me because it is unpredictable right now. And that is the reality. And I do feel like crap about it. So I have to allow myself to grieve where I'm at in my body's journey because I never dreamed I'd be in this, just like all of us who go through something physical. And so there's all of that that's coming up for me to release. Um, so let's see. Your family's not respecting boundaries at all, Cinder Kitten says. That's where you discern. I'm going to pop into that real quick because thank you for saying that. With your family not respecting boundaries at all, it shows you where they're at, where you're at, where they're at in their journey and where you're at in your journey. So you have a understanding now that they don't have, and you're not resonating with where they're at. And I that's okay. That's going to happen because you're evolving and you're not all evolving at the same pace. A lot of people don't evolve at the same pace. I mean, we're all here on Rise Awakenings and watching these shows because we're all growing and evolving and learning what's not working. A lot of people are not doing that kind of work, and that's really hard for everyone to swallow when they're going through that understanding and that download that comes. The way we can help ourselves through that is to give ourselves a healthier dose of observation and separation. And I don't mean like you don't have to go no contact or no talking. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean like there's an emotional detachment to a version of them that you want that they don't have the capacity to become. So with you projecting your expectation onto them, you want them to show up for you in a specific way. They don't have the capacity to. They're not going to respect your boundaries. They can't show up for you in the ways that you need them to show up for you. So you kind of have to release the attachment emotionally to the idea that they might be able to adhere to and respect your boundaries if that's not where they're at. So release that. Family, not so much. Yeah, that's so true, and that resonates with so many people. And we all have different dynamics in our family, and generationally speaking, times are like just society is so different now than it was for other generations and other time periods and other experiences for those around us in our family. And if they don't have the capacity to reflect on their own journey, or if they've never learned that that's even a thing, because don't forget the kind of broken system that we live in keeps everyone very distracted and obligated to things that don't actually matter. And so a lot of folks get lost in that sauce. And a lot of times that's family. The kids, you have more ability to show them a different example and to show up differently for them and to be the kind of person that they want. So for kids, it's a little bit better for them to, they're watching you, they're witnessing you, you're showing them the way. The folks around you who've already been through it or are on their own journey, they're on their own journey just like everybody else. Sometimes it happens to be family members, and that sucks because your heart's involved in a different way. So I understand that. Let's see who else we got here. I know one thing that comes a lot up for stuff that's hard to release is the story of the pain, right? How many of us carry that pain, the pain? Because I see some comments in there that I'm like, just it's triggering that thought and made it pop out. The pain that it brings up, we get stuck in that. We really get stuck in that pain, and that pain is multifaceted. It's not just one root thing. It's multifaceted. Abandonment tied to neglect, tied to feeling unheard and misunderstood, tied to. It's a giant chain of sorrow. Right? Releasing and allowing requires an uncomfortable pivot that can be really difficult to navigate. Yeah, it absolutely can, because we have to navigate through that pain. It's that pain that we're hanging on to that we need to release. And it shows up in weird ways in our lives. And in order for us to give ourselves an opportunity to do something different, we do need to allow ourselves an opportunity to feel it from an objective perspective. And so that's going to require a healthy dose of detachment emotionally from the circumstance. So reminding yourself to shift yourself into that active observer of your own experience. You hear me say often, my life is a sitcom. Why do I say that? Because at this point, I understand so much that things are just funny now. So most of it is funny with some serious parts. It's a sitcom. But I say that because I'm observing my own experience, including myself. And I promise you, I trigger myself too. I trigger me all the time. I get the ick on the inside. I'm like, ooh, what did I just say? I didn't like that. Let me shift that. And I'll go into shift mode, because ultimately the releasing is, it allows you to move forward quickly into that. Ooh, I acknowledge that. Bye-bye. Here's something new. Done. So that's the kind of, I want to get you in there. I'm so sick of sarcasm too, Cinder Kittens. That's a language I do not understand. Sarcasm is to me a trauma response. In a lot of circumstances, like there's some cute sarcasm, like when I'm talking about my dog and saying, oh, she's not spoiled at all, when she's incredibly spoiled. Like, I don't mind that. But the sarcasm from like that has the mocking, shaming, belittling, condescending, make fun of kind of undertones in it, including for the self, because sometimes we use sarcasm to self-loathe and self-sabotage. Oh, that's a big one. We don't recognize it, but that's a big one. And it feels like such an untruth. Sarcasm feels like a sense of humor that's trauma-based and untruth to soften or diminish or diffuse or all these adjectives that go in there in their place. Cinder Gen X says, my mom still tries to command me, and I just say, I love you, Mom, but no. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful way to handle it. No is a full sentence and an entire paragraph in my book. I love that. There has to be a healthy dose of that. Yeah. And I tell people no all the time. And if I feel that they are, let me rephrase it. If I feel they have the capacity, I will add context for them as to why there was a no, so that to show them respect, to show them that I respect them enough to give them context. If I just say no and you don't get context, it's usually because like I don't care about how you feel about it. Right? Who else is sick of sarcasm though? Because that really is a big one that is hard to release, because it's such a trained trauma response. And if you've tried context and they don't understand, they just don't have the capacity. And that's really hard, because that's really isolating and lonely. And it feels like, oh my God, there's so much, all this like there's like that push pull. There's so much love, but then there's so much like, oh God, but you make me feel like crap about myself. There's that unhealthy dynamic that is how the system is set up and structured. It is so deeply conditioned, period. Everyone has been affected to some degree with different circumstances surrounding their experience. And so that's why we need to move forward with the understanding we have all the love in the world. The love is still there in our hearts. It's not gone. But we have to love the situation, and here's where the honesty comes in, for the reality that it actually is, not for the expectation that we project onto it based on our unmet needs. So we don't want to project our unmet needs expectations onto others who just don't have the capacity to meet us where we're at. And pat yourself on the back for being where you're at. Yeah. And I'm sorry she doesn't have the capacity to understand. I'm sorry our families don't have the capacity to understand, but some do. So this is your discernment and this is your alignment, and you have to allow it to be okay for you to not be aligned. But that doesn't mean that you disconnect completely. So I don't want you to confuse connection with alignment. Okay. Let me just talk to that real quick, because I think that how do we discern to release, what to release and what not to release? Where do we draw lines and boundaries? All this is very, very important in our healing journey in order for us to be more aligned and know what to release. So in the context of that, we have to give ourselves an opportunity to let go of the idea that we lose connection if it's not exactly the way that we want it to be in our minds, that we hoped it would be, that we needed it to be, right? You can love individuals from a distance. You could love all human beings on the planet and not align or resonate or want to have any interactions with them or want to have limited interactions with them. You don't have to take what individuals in your world that you're not aligned with, you don't have to take what they say as something that you need to accept and integrate and incorporate into your life. Just because someone says it doesn't mean you have to follow their instruction for you. So maybe it's an opportunity to are you projecting your expectations onto someone else? Is there deeper layers of that? Because we do chop away at layers of releasing expectations, but there's so many layers to it. So keep going. I'm still doing it. We're all still doing it. We ain't dead yet. I like to say that too. I ain't dead yet. So unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of falling away of individuals that maybe don't have the capacity to hold space for your specific level of where you're at and how you present yourself in certain moments and circumstances. Even if you're presenting yourself in like the most truthful, authentic way, it's let them fall away from your experience because it's not aligned for where you're headed. And that's the reframe. If it's not aligned with where I'm headed, let it stay where it's at and see what is more aligned with where I'm headed. We have to change. We have to grow. We have to evolve in all aspects of life. It's the same like getting a new car. Eventually the parts become obsolete. It's no different with our heart and our mind. Eventually these ideals and these programmings and conditionings are obsolete, and it's time to hit the delete button and implement something new for ourselves in our journey. Cinder Kitten says she's sarcastic to every question I ask, and just got told I didn't need to ask her every time what she's doing. So that tells me that she was self-conscious and insecure about whatever it is that you were asking. So her insecurities were being projected at you through that sarcasticness. And I'm sorry that you experienced that, because it feels very invalidating and you feel misunderstood. And intention gets lost in there because she's communicating to you from her limited, unhealed space, and you're just trying to have connection. She's not at a place to be at that level of vulnerability with you, and that's just where she's at. All we can do is wish people healing and send love to their higher selves, to their soul, to their hearts, and show up in a way that holds space for their healing. Thank you for having headphones on right now. I know. Sometimes folks who don't have the capacity to absorb information and knowledge that I'm giving you will be incredibly irritable if they hear stuff like this. And that's a great idea, because I don't want you to be unhealthy if she's in your space, because she's going to be unhealthy. I'll trigger her. That's another discernment too, right? If you trigger people, perhaps there's not an alignment. And then what's not in alignment? Always first and foremost, seek within yourself, because usually when there's a trigger, there's a reason. So what's the reason? Is it that the individual has something within themselves, or is there something that you might have done to be the catalyst for that trigger that you might be able to take accountability and responsibility for and shift and give, whatever interactions need to happen to rectify that situation, to step into the repair of that circumstance. So self-check is always first. Always ask yourself the gamut of questions. Why am I being triggered by this? Or why did these circumstances happen? Why did these people fall away from my experience? It could very well be that they don't have the capacity or not at your level of healing, but it could also very well be that you still have some ways of projecting yourself out there that isn't in the greatest degree of love without your awareness of it, because again, it's part of that conditioning and that programming. The healing journey is full of discoveries. A lot of it is discovering what's conditioning, what's programming, because how on earth are we supposed to know what we need to release if everything is so normal and socially acceptable? Everything's in quotes, air quotes. How are we supposed to move forward with new information if we don't recognize first what isn't working, so that we can then decide what to seek and implement? So this is why I say question everything within yourself, because first we got to unlearn. That's a process, and that's such an isolating journey, right? We got to unlearn a lot of shit, and we got to unlearn what isn't working for us. And we got to realize that when we trigger ourselves for a reason. And sometimes we got to kick our own ass too. Right? Not in a bad way, but in a loving way. Because again, we're not judging, we're not shaming, we're not guilting. Nope, we're not doing any of that. What we're doing is we are giving ourselves a lot of love. And when we kick our own ass, we give ourselves that loving motivation and that pep talk of, no, you're better than this. You can think differently. You can act differently. That was your trigger. What brought that up for you? What are you trying to defend? What are you trying to prove? What do you feel you're not being heard on? How do you feel like you're being misunderstood? In what ways do you feel like you're being disrespected? And then you react in a certain way. Like, so question your reactions to things. And see where you feel internally with those things. Because I think that's super important in discovering what you need to release and what's not working. Okay. Realigning yourself with what you're supposed to be doing. So this is a great time right now today to assess whether or not you're in your flow, or if you're still living in survival, but more than you've been doing so, like on a deeper level. So feel it. Are you feeling in your flow? Are you feeling like opportunities are unfolding for you? Things are falling away that don't belong to you? Are you feeling connected with your own experience? Are you feeling like things are falling apart? Where are you at in your journey? And remember, falling apart is part of making space for something new. I want to repeat that again because I know that's a tough one, because it feels like failure. It feels like rejection. It feels like abandonment. It feels like not enoughness, right? All of those weird things pop up for people along this journey when things start falling away that aren't where they're supposed to be. So it's one of those it's one of those things where the biggest part of us bringing ourselves to the next level is going to require the deepest level of deconditioning, degaslighting, and constructing our experience for exactly the reality of what it is, and a deeper level acceptance, radical acceptance of what that experience is, so that we can move through the emotions, whether they be rage for a system that sabotaged X, Y, and Z throughout your journey, right? That's a big one for females in some ways, and for men in other ways, because we've both been damaged by this huge system that is set up to keep us separated, afraid, hurt, and in sadness or anger. But, it's a system that's set up to maintain power and control over a mass amount of people. So that's a lot of deconstructing and deconditioning. It takes time for life to show us things. So every time life shows us something, it's an opportunity for us to realign and release. So we've got this beautiful full moon to work with. The blue moon just means it's the second one in a month, and that doesn't happen very often. So it adds to the intention and power. And I so absolutely need you to do something physical to allow yourself to strengthen the hyper focus that you're going to have on your intention to let go of who you are not. All of this letting go isn't just wishy-washy and woo-woo. It's a mindset shift and part of the brain rewiring process that assists you in achieving inner peace through mind and heart cohesion. There's science to back this up. So, and you can do all kinds of rabbit holes with that. Know that you are divinely supported through this process, because you'll receive the knowing. So this is also an opportunity for you to trust yourself more deeply. You're not going to release anything if you don't trust that you're releasing what you need to release. So just trust what comes up for you and give yourself permission to believe yourself. That's a big one too, because we sometimes just speak words without feeling it. Give yourself permission to believe yourself, okay? Your intuition, what comes through for you. The chat's a little quiet today, so I'm just going to speak to the top things that come up for this type of discussion. So allow to surface deeper levels of your own self-sabotage, and acknowledging why those self-sabotaging loops occur, and releasing those stories and programs every time there's a self-sabotage that happens. Practicing radical acceptance through everything that occurs in your world. I had something happen yesterday that didn't even faze me, but maybe 10 years ago, I might have had a meltdown. So like, I could see how far I've evolved with how I respond in circumstances because of practicing radical acceptance. You can't change some things from occurring in your circumstances. You cannot change what other people's reactions are to you in moments. What you do have control over is how you respond. What you do have control over is how you decide to feel about yourself. What you do have control over is your own heart, and understanding that it's totally fine, Cinder Kittens. Do your thing. Yeah, yeah. You have to radically accept occurring events as they happen. Yeah, it hurts. Absolutely, it hurts. Yeah, it sure does. None of this ride is easy. This journey is going to be like acknowledging the pain. I feel like it's hard to release if we're not validating our pain. We have to validate our pain first. Thank you for bringing that up, Cinder Kittens. And it's really hard when it's happening in the moment. And it's really, really hard to not have that like reaction that isn't in alignment with our inner peace. So that learning how to detach emotionally from whatever responses and whatever reactions you get from the individuals in the circumstances, learning how to detach emotionally from their reactions, that helps in the radical acceptance. So all of these little practices and mindsets, they all work very cohesively together. This is like a process. It's like you multitask on the evolutionary journey too. The emotional mental work is a multitask job. And drinking, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Drink a lot of water. Our bodies are, I don't know how many percentage of water, but it's a lot. I forget, 70 something, maybe more. This is conductive. We are electromagnetic beings. We have to move energy, and that happens with drinking water, moving the body. That helps us release actual physical release. We are in this body. We are in human form. And so part of taking care of this meat suit is giving it fresh oil so we don't blow the engine. And so that we can release the toxins that we accumulate, and the toxins meaning the emotional burdens that we're carrying, right? So do those little exercises that help you. Do those little things that give you the tool, that strengthen your intention to let yourself become a different person, right? Because all of this is releasing, is letting yourself become a different person, isn't it? But you're also becoming not a different person. What you're becoming is who you naturally are, who your origin being is, not who society and conditioning created out of you. Don't forget, it's like when you're born, you start with the origin family, then schools, then life programs you. What we're doing is becoming a different person than what society expects you to become. We are becoming our own person. We are becoming ourselves. And so, especially when we have astrological events that help us energetically strengthen those intentions and rewiring in our brains and bodies, we have an opportunity to level ourselves up and put ourselves more on a fast track. And I know you guys are on this healing journey with me, and I am so grateful to have you with me. It's definitely an exciting ride, including the painful parts that are painful, because we don't like the painful parts, but they're necessary. It's a necessary part of it. I can't wait for Phoenix Talks, because this is a great preface for Phoenix Talks, which is going to be about when is enough enough. And I forgot what the song title was that Micah created for this. Micah, maybe you can pop it up here somehow. But that's going to be a great follow-up to this. And I am so super grateful for your presence in my healing journey, because speaking all of this to you is also helping me heal and keeps me accountable to being the best version of myself in these moments. So I am so eternally grateful for all of you. I love you so much. Tune in to go to Embers of Light. Go to Embers of Light and just go check out the schedule because there's so much going on. And stay in tune. I think this is a good place to close. Y'all have your homework. Go do something for yourselves and go be amazing and go step into your power. No more making yourself small. We ain't playing small anymore, everyone. This is not a time to play it small. This is a time to let go of the shit that's holding you back and just go all in. Okay. I love you all so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Go do you.
The stars are blue from the soul.